Alright, how we doing, folks? Your boy Marco's over here. Little special edition Wasteland Wednesday, man. Playing a little bit of the Star Wars beta. I only played it literally for one night, I think on Thursday on Bohusani. And some pros, some cons, but for the most part, I was pretty impressed. You know, I'm not planning on getting this game. Just wasn't. I don't really care much for Star Wars per se. I mean, it's alright, but I'm not really got into it too well. Check out my skills though of flying. I think it's a TIE fighter. Look at that. I believe I didn't get enough TIE fighter stuff to figure out the controls, but I believe that the issue there is that it's kind of like inverted. So when you hold up, it goes down, and that's kind of what happened there. I held up to try to keep going up, and somehow I ended up going down. I'm like, alright, cool. So, you know, disqualify me from the fact of feeling that it's amazing because it's Star Wars and whatnot. You know, unfortunately, I don't really have that as a thing. You know, I plan on watching maybe a couple Star Wars movies, and I guess I should watch that new one since it's so hyped up. But I've never fully sat down and watched one movie from end to beginning. I've seen parts of almost probably all of them, but I never took the 3.5 hours of my life to sit down and watch one of those movies, and I don't care for it. I just don't care for it. So I wasn't even planning on playing this game. He was talking about playing some Duty, and I was kind of confused as to what happened to him. I was like, he's dead, but he's just sitting there. Okay. We're talking about playing some Duty or whatever, and then I told him, I was like, yeah, this beta's on here. You want to try it out? All right, cool. Our main issue is that we couldn't actually play together. Like, we weren't, like, allowed to, so I had to sneak into a lobby that he was already in and whatnot. There was 2 game modes. You know, one of them's kind of like a 6v6 hard point dom kind of thing where you capture these pods. And then there's this game mode, which is there's 40 people in it, 20 versus 20. And, you know, I guess we're the Empire and the Rebels, they call them, I think, is kind of how this got divided. Or we're Imperial and they're the Rebels, whatever. We basically have to get these, I think they call AT-ATs, walk, I don't know what the hell they're called. These big robot thingy-majigs. AT-ATs, I think they're called, I don't know. From one side of the map to the other, they got to stop it. I actually never saw the Rebels win this game mode. Ever. 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 There's a lot of options you could do over here. So the mode itself is kind of, I think, a little bit stupid. It's fun in the sense that you get the feeling that you're like in war or whatnot, but it's kind of ridiculous in the sense that you just, I mean, you're not really doing it. Like, I was playing pretty much like TDM, and you know, occasionally stopping their objectives, but I knew even if I didn't stop it, they weren't going to win. They basically have to take down these AT-ATs, and I'm sure once people get better at it, there's going to be more options, and people are going to just, you know, figure out ways to win in terms of, you know, they have to activate these 2 satellite things to be able to hurt our AT-ATs to take down their shields or whatever. ATs, I guess you could also call them. They got to do that in order to take those down, and when they take them down, they have to hit them hard. So there's some rocket launcher pickups you could use in order to do that. They could be, I think, on one of these ships that they have and do it as well as that. There's a couple options over here. One of the things I was surprised at is kind of the variety in terms of this gameplay. I mean, right now I'm controlling that. I'm not good at it because I have absolutely no clue what I'm doing with it, but I am controlling it. You could do that. You know, we saw me in the TIE Fighter before. You could be Vader. I think I'm Vader a little bit later this. You could pick up like a hero. So there's all these like power-ups that are kind of show up on the battle screen. I personally would have preferred if there were kill streaks, you know, if they were more merit-based and just kind of walk around and picking them up. But once again, I'm not playing this game competitively, and I probably won't play it honestly too. So I was like, if it's $30 at one point, I'll probably get it. But I don't know. It seemed a little bit limited too. The beta seemed kind of limited on what you could do, but at least what was in there worked and worked well. Visually stunning, honestly. It is stunning. It ran very smooth for me. I'm playing this on the Xbox One, even though I heard the PS4 edition's better, but isn't everything on the PS4 better until it's not. It ran very smoothly for me on the Xbox One. Frame rate, never really noticed it dropping ever. But then again, I'm not like a, you know, I can't count frames like that. Graphically, everything looks smooth, and you know, there's some other things involved with it. But you know, I think we are white, and the whole map's damn white, so it kind of, you know, makes that a little bit but aside from that, I did get the scale that they were going for. I did get the scale in the sense that, oh man, this is like a very large map, and this is a war going on. You never fully know where people are going, and you kind of figure out a general sense of where the spawns are, but you're never 100% sure where anybody could be at because there's so much going on. In that sense, I did feel almost like I was in a Battlefield 4 kind of situation in one of those huge maps where you never know fully what's going on. Let's talk about some of the weapons and stuff that I have over here too, which were kind of exciting. What I was able to do weapon-wise. You start off with this blaster. I think there was 3 other guns you could use, even like a little pistol that allegedly is like closer up close or better up close. Never really changed this initial weapon. This kind of laser thing's kind of cool. You don't reload. You could overheat, and then it breaks it down, and you could have an active reload situation where you hit X, almost like a Gears of War kind of thing. It doesn't give you an increase in power or increase in damage like Gears does, but it does allow you to the cool-off period to be cut drastically, and you might see me do that later. And this was a weapon that I really enjoyed. It's a sniper rifle. It's kind of like a sidearm you could equip thing. You could either equip that or a jetpack. I kind of dabbled between both of those, and also a nade that you could kind of throw and chuck over there. The nade throwing's a little bit awkward for us that especially come from Call of Duty, in the sense that the nade just goes flying off like immediately. I tried cooking it, and that thing just went flying, and there is no cooking. There is just simply, just chuck it and pray that it lands correctly and aim as best as you can before having any opportunity to cook it or whatnot. They're infinite, so as you see, they're kind of like on a timer, and the timer goes kind of quick. I would actually, this would be one of the things I would suggest changing, is literally slowing down that timer, especially for the nade. The sniper rifle I felt was kind of fairish, and after all, the sniper rifle is a side weapon, so I kind of want that as much as I can. I understand where it could be a little bit overpowered just because it does hurt a lot. Kill cams would be very nice. I don't know if that's going to be something included in the final game, but it would be very nice, especially, you end up skipping all the kill cams in the long run. But at the beginning, when you're playing something, I would have liked to know what killed me. Now, it'll show up over there to the right. It'll say, like, what killed you. But, I mean, good luck trying to figure it out. Honestly, sometimes you just die so quickly, and you're like, all right, well, whatever. I never fully understood how this worked, too, but I think when you play as the Rebels, you also have a partner. It kind of just pairs you up with somebody on the team. So when you spawn in, you can either click to spawn where the spawn is, or you can spawn next to your partner, which it works very interestingly. Obviously it could be productive if your partner is closer to the enemy, if your partner is closer to an objective that you're trying to get to, or it could be a big negative if you spawn and your partner's just dying. Guess what? You're just gonna get popped right next to him, unless the other person is expecting somebody else. It could also be a negative if you keep trying to spawn next to your partner and your partner spends the whole game dead, so you basically just spawn in your own spawn anyway. That happened to me often at times. I'd be partnered up with like the worst guy in the team. I'll never forget, played one game with Husani, and this guy wasn't too good, unfortunately, for him. Played one game with Husani, and I kept spawning in next to my partner, right? I wasn't really sure what was going on. Kept spawning next to my partner, and every time I spawned next to him, he'd either be like off on the edge of a map in the middle of nowhere, or he would be in our spawn. So I told Sonny, like, man, this is useless. Like, this guy, like, he's just not even doing anything in this whole game. Like, he's not, I don't know what his deal is. We look later on at the end, and I think he was like 2 for 16 or something. Like, it literally partnered me up with the worst person. I always got partnered up with the worst person in the game. I'm not 100% sure why that happened. I just assume that's all luck. I also assume that if you come in and play with somebody, like if it's 2 of you coming into a lobby, you both spawn it. You're your own partner. I wasn't able to prove that, but I believe so that might be the case. So that kind of takes care of weaponry, and then, over here, this guy's doing that. I'm trying to keep, make sure that these hallways are clean over here. This battleground, this battlefield over here in Hoth was kind of split up into a couple different segments, right? So we saw the first segment, that first line of battle, which was right next to the AT-ATs, and I think I sniped. Oh, I didn't. It was the one game when I sniped a turret because I thought it was a person. So it's kind of spread into that, and then there's 2 control towers that they're trying to take over here. And this one has kind of an inside the building and an outside the building, 2 control towers you can hide over here. And there's also a mountain, which was Sniper Heaven, which was the one that just showed up over there. And that thing was just a bitch to like keep snipers off that thing. The generally thing that I took out of this beta is that it's fun. It's fun, and that's something that's very underrated and not too important. We don't think it's too important when we talk about games, or when I hear people talk about games. I could break down all the mechanics for you that you want. I could describe to you, how it felt like the recoil, how it felt shooting the weapons and all that. I could describe to you the different variety and class setups we had. That's all great, honestly. Like, I could break all that down for you. But in the end of the day, if you don't have fun doing it, you're kind of wasting your time. And it's something that I don't think we give enough credit for games to. And this was a little bit of almost a kind of breath of fresh air. And, it was reinvigorating to play something like this, and it just seemed fresh. It looked good. It felt next-gen almost in that regard, especially looks-wise, whatnot. The harsh reality of it is, though, that I think the game is going to suffer from just being limited by its own scope. So, cool, we have this map here where 40 people could be fighting at the same time, and we could be calling in, you know, little spaceships, and Darth Vader could come on. And this is actually my first time playing as Vader, so I had no clue what I was doing. I was like, yo, Vader, what up, my dude? So I think that yellow thing is the health bar, and I'm trying out over here all the different weapons you could do. You kind of choke someone out, throw your lightsaber at them, and I don't know, you know, let's just swing at the lightsaber. And I'm not sure how you deflect. You can deflect the projectiles. I don't know if it does it automatically, if you have to hit the RB button to do that. I'm not sure. And you can kind of do this float thing ahead thing, which puts you completely exposed, but hey, that's life. And I got stuck in that bubble somehow. That bubble like protects you from fire, but you could snipe through it. You just can't use like you can't use. I'm trying to climb up this damn thing, but I'm not able to. And here, this is my first interaction over here. I'm like, all right, cool. I was like, all right, Vader strike. He seems overpowered. You know, obviously it looks kind of overpowered, and I'm not doing well at all with him. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous how bad I'm doing. But it's not overpowered, and I took down plenty of like Vaders and Luke Skywalkers. It's fair in a sense. See, that guy spawned into his partner right there. Bad call right there. Not the best of looks. I just wasn't sure what I was doing with this guy, but whatever. I got a lot of kills, and this was probably one of my best games that I played here. It was a fun game. That's kind of why I marked it down over there. But I think what's going to end up killing this game is kind of its own scope, and just the fact that there's not going to be enough to do. So there's no single player campaign, which already is a knock to me. I understand we don't play Call of Duty for its single player, but part of the Call of Duty experience, for example, is the fact that you get so much for your $60, right? And I think on the next gen, it actually won't have the single player on it, and I assume they're going to reduce it in price because of that. I think they actually did. I think it's either 40 or 50 bucks. But you're losing a big part. You know, Call of Duty is kind of split into three big things: your single player, your zombies, and your multiplayer. This has the multiplayer. It looked like there was about 8 game modes, which is kind of alright, but you know, none of them were, or at least the 2 that we were allowed to play, none of them were like a straight up team deathmatch. And I'm not sure if there will be a straight up team deathmatch, but that ends up being your most popular game mode in most shooters. So that would be interesting to see that. If it's all objective based, you're kind of losing a little bit of that luster in terms of competing to see who's the best, you know, because there's so many factors that could go on here. I ended up taking, I think, first or second on my team in this game, but it never really felt like that because I played the objective sometimes, other times I didn't. I kind of just found out what needed to be done in that situation, and that in its own self is fun, but you can't fully quantify that in terms of like a KD or something simple that you could do in Call of Duty, some simple math, some simple numbers that could treat yourself in that regard. They had a multiplayer kind of survival mode, almost like they had like introducing like Modern Warfare 3 or something like that, where you just take rounds, like a horde mode for Gears, for example. They had that, and that seemed kind of cool. I'd enjoy doing that, and that was kind of like the equivalent of your single player campaign and your cooperative play. That's actually how me and Husani started playing this, to get familiar a little bit with the controls and whatnot. That seemed cool. I think it only went to a certain level. Like well, the beta only allowed to go to like 5, but I think in the game itself it said it'll go to like 20 or something like that. So you know, it doesn't seem like it's an infinite one like the zombies one is, which is fine. You know, that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. That's kind of just life. Yeah, I think the zombies the luster that zombies has in terms of being infinite and trying to survive for as long as it can is good until you get really good at it, and then you end up playing games for like 6 or 7 hours, and you're like, damn, like I just kind of don't want to like play zombies no more because we've been playing this for like 1,000 hours, you know. So you gotta take that into account when that comes. But it's felt like the game was just limited in what it could do, and I understand this philosophy now. We've kind of gotten to this point. It might just be because of transition in terms of consoles. So let's take an example like Black Ops 2 was stupid stacked with stuff, right? You had a ton of multiplayer modes, hardcore, non-hardcore. You had the gun games and whatnot. You had the robust single-player campaign with a ton of different options as to what you could do. And then you had the zombie maps, which were like their own worlds and whatnot. So that was like the peak of it, right? And now you got games like Titanfall that come out, and it's like, hey, we're only doing multiplayer, but we're going to do it really good. And you play it, and you're like, oh, well, it is pretty good, but why can't we do more? Like, why are we only limited to this? And I think that's kind of the reason why we saw Titanfall. You know, there's a lot of other factors into that, and the fact that it was only exclusive and whatnot, but I think that's kind of what happened with that game. And I feel that's something that's going to happen with Battlefront as well, which is, okay, we got this really cool multiplayer. Why can't we go more? Why can't we do something further than this? I think the thing that's also going to help Star Wars out a ton, though, is just the name, the brand, Star Wars. You know, and you put out a commercial around this with this, and the Jakku maps and whatnot that are going to come out, referring to the new movie around that time. And yeah, I mean, it's going to sell itself in that regard. And, you know, it comes out like right before like Black Friday or something like that. So there's definitely going to be a lot of kids getting this game for Black Friday, for Christmas, just on the fact that, hey, Star Wars, it's the hype train. But I don't see this game having that big of a tail. It'll be interesting to see what kind of DLC they have planned for it in the future and how that plays out. But overall, I enjoyed it. I had a lot more fun with it than I thought I would. I would definitely give it a shot. I probably won't pay $60 for it, man. That's just real spit right there. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Deuces.